my name is Curci, and this is the review for Thief. Thief is a game that shows how good it could have been, but just comes up short. There are flashes of brilliance in this game, but those moments get clouded by the numerous issues that this game has. You are a master thief by the name of Garrett that takes on a job when something goes wrong. Garrett wakes up a year later with no memory of the past year and goes off on a path for answers. The story isn't the strong suit of Thief, but it isn't the weakest either. The story, in my opinion, was very average, but it really didn't have a very satisfying ending, so the main story in a nutshell is pretty much forgettable. The name of the game is Thief, and while some of Garrett's goals are to steal something, there were others that didn't have him robbing anything but seeking answers or saving a friend. Sure, it fit well with the storyline, but I wanted to feel like a real master thief, but instead, I was just going through the motions. Throughout the game, Garrett can steal items like coin purses and gold, but I found myself scratching my head a lot whenever the game thought it would be valuable to steal a pen or a cup or an ink bottle or a spoon. A lot of items just seemed dumb to be worth taking, not the kind of stuff that would make me feel like a master thief. Garrett's voice acting also took me out of the experience as well. It just didn't fit for the character, and there would be a lot of moments where it wasn't how Garrett sounded, but what he said that was odd to me. Actually, the game is filled with odd dialogue or odd moments, like when a guard asks what's in the cart and then smacks the guy who's actually answering his question and just lets the cart move along anyway. Or the moment when Garrett passes out in the middle of a conversation, but when he wakes up, the conversation picks up as if nothing had ever happened. It was a lot of me asking, what was the point of that? The world of Thief is very beautiful and has a story to it. It's a story that we all heard before, but a story nonetheless. A plague ravages the city while a tyrant rules with an iron fist. There would be times I would actually explore the city and actually be able to hear muffled coughing in a building, and it basically made the city feel alive to me. But the game never really gives me any reason to explore it. With the absurd amount of loading screens that made the world feel very disjointed, a map that was more annoying than helpful, and other odd navigation tools, it really just made me want to stick to the main storyline, which probably wasn't the best way to play Thief, as I ignored most side quests and extra objectives that Thief presented. This game isn't an open world. It is free roam, but open world is the wrong term, which is a shame because the game would have benefited if the city was really open and not so many loading screens that also made the game feel old. The map designs on missions felt extremely linear and really felt like there was only one way to go about it. It didn't help promote exploration and never really allowed for room to adapt. Sure, in some areas if there was a group of guards, then the game would present a path to avoid them, but more often than not, it felt like there was only one way of going about things. It made me feel, once again, that I was just going through the motions. The narrow hallways and areas really discourage fighting, as once you are detected, the enemies come down on you like a swarm, and there really isn't fighting back at that point, just reloading your previous save. The fighting mechanics are really simplistic, as you dodge enemy attacks and bash them with your own, or sneak up from behind and take them out quickly. You can upgrade your fighting skills for a quicker takedown, but if it is more than just one enemy, you'll likely be running away. The bow and different types of arrows were nice, but the melee system just wasn't good. There was even many times when narrow hallways or areas would prevent me from dodging and I would have no way to defend myself against enemy attacks. I can sort of understand why the game does go the better flee than fight route, considering that you are a thief and not, say, an assassin. But the game's weak level designs really don't offer you anywhere to go if that does happen, and you end up reloading your previous save anyway. Most of the level designs were the same story, except for one, the asylum level halfway through the game. This was the brilliance of Thief that I was talking about earlier. This level was by far my most favorite of the game. The entire time I was creeped out, too afraid to look through keyholes or turn a corner. That level really scared me. It was incredibly terrifying, and it wasn't something that I expected out of this game. But it was one of the 8 chapters and not enough to say buy this game. At the end of each mission, the game grades you on how you did. If you took the total stealth approach, you were a ghost. If you were stealthy but may have taken out some people, you were an opportunist. And if you were running down anyone that was in your path, you were a predator. I liked the system because it did make me wonder how I would have tackled those other paths. It offered a challenge, but the game had so many annoying factors about it that I usually just moved on. You can replay previous chapters to pick up on things that you may have missed before, but I just felt fine with the one playthrough. Aside from the lackluster combat system, the stealth was decent enough. The little light detector in the bottom left of the screen displayed how hidden you were in the shadows, and for the most part it worked well. Garrett also has his swoop ability so that he can move from shadow to shadow quickly without being seen, but the movement will still be detected by nearby caged birds or dogs that will alert guards nearby. Garrett has a focus ability that will highlight things you can interact with, and even with upgrades can even do things like slow down time. It's a useful tool that can really help the game be a little less frustrating. Garrett can visit shops to upgrade his gear, purchase new equipment, and stock up on supplies, and his hideout in the clock tower will store collectibles that you find in your travels. The game is also plagued by technical issues. Very often the game's voice dialogue is desynced with the characters. It was a slight delay, but still a very noticeable one, and one that happened far too often. NPC generic dialogue would very often repeat, and sometimes over the same exact line. There was even one moment during a cutscene an NPC was speaking. During a cutscene. Some scenes had weird audio that I would struggle to hear what the characters were even saying, even after decreasing the music volume, and there was even one instance where I witnessed a drop in frame rate, and another where texture had a slow pop-in, but nothing more than that. Thief is a game that could have been good, but just wasn't. It shows off some cool moments, but those cool moments are hidden behind too many issues. I just didn't have fun playing Thief. As much as I wanted to, it just wasn't happening, and all I wanted to do was finish so that I could go play something different. Thief isn't horrible, and some will enjoy what it has to offer, but to me, it just isn't worth the purchase, but may be better as a rental. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.